don't have a franchise quarterback. And that doesn't even say teams like the Buccaneers, the Falcons at this point, teams like that who there's a lot of unknowns. The Redskins even have unknowns. So to me, Justin, I think that's why they paid Wentz and Goff. And I don't know what you think about that, but looking at that, does that make you feel more comfortable to pay guys like that?
Well, it's been a topic we've talked about a number of times. When you have a guy that's top 12 and fringe top 15, you get stuck in a box where you almost have to pay him. It's like the Lions with Stafford. I think that's the perfect thing. This guy hasn't won anything. And yet he got a massive deal there because what are you going to do? Do you really, when it's a 50-50 shot, maybe less than that you're going to go into the draft and find a guy who is going to be that competent, and you have a guy who's been there, has experience at that point, isn't it easier to just go with the known commodity? So I think that's what teams do. Yeah. We talked about it last week with Tua. If you're a fringe top 15 guy, you're going to get paid in this league, and you're going to start a lot of football games because the quarterback play is so erratic. And now you're getting guys that are aging out. You're getting rookies in there that are shaky at best. And look, I don't think that Daniel Jones should be under the gun at all because there's not a good roster around him. I think what the Giants and their brass did and how they came out and were so brash about defending the Daniel Jones pick and how great he looked, they just put a ton on him, and they made a lot of enemies in the media where you're going to have people that are taking shots at him. And then you're asking a young man to block all that stuff out. Mitchell Trubisky asked the Bears to turn off all the TVs at Hallis Hall because there was so much negativity towards him. So these young guys are affected by that.
That's fair.
That was more my point with him
that's fair.
And then you add in the New York element, all the media type tabloid paparazzi type coverage of him. I mean, there's an article out about your boy Sam Darnold going out and getting his freak on after a big win against the Raiders. So
come on, they deserve to freak on after that win. They deserve it.
Hey, I'm not saying he deserved it. I'm saying it gets covered where it might not be getting covered for other guys.
Yeah.
And anything that they can grab onto, especially on the negative side, that's going to get clicks, going to get papers clicked on and bought, or however that happens now in New York. All of that media coverage is stuff that I think could have been dampened some if the Giants had just been a little bit humble about this. They took a lot of heat and then they came out firing, and now their guys is really not done anything in terms of win-losses. They're a team that's 2-9, and he hasn't looked great. He's had a couple flashes here and there. I just think they could have made the situation a lot easier for him because at some point he's going to get thrown under the bus. It just happens to everybody. Darnold came into the season and looked like he was going to take this huge step forward, and he was getting thrown under the bus early on, and now he's kind of got it rolling again for the Jets. So
I do have a question for you, though.
Daniel Jones. Sure.
I do have a question.
Fire away.
Because I didn't see the tweet. I didn't see the video. Can you at least answer for me? Did Sam Darnold have his hair combed like a pencil salesman when he was getting his freak on after the game?
I didn't see the video or the picture. I just read the article and the multiple headlines
that
out
man
there.
Loves his hair.
He has a full head of hair at this point. So the mono, he did not suffer any hair loss as a side effect of the mono. That is for sure.
Well, you know who is suffering hair loss, Justin?
Oh, what a segue.
Sometimes even during a game. Oh, he takes his headband off and some of his hair comes out, I think is the way I saw that video. My man, LeBron James. Justin, the Lakers are 15-2. Tell me about the Lakers a little bit. Are you concerned about LeBron James? Is he going to retire? Is he going to fall over even before he retires?
Well, I got to get you to put your pom-poms and your lotion and your tissues down. I think at 15-2, I think the Lakers are well beyond where you thought they would be.
Definitely.
And look, everything has come together for this team early on. I think this is what, as a Laker fan and a LeBron fan, this is what you wanted to see coming off the heels of last year.
Heck yeah.
When they looked awful and like they had no plan, and then it was like, hell or high water, Anthony Davis will be on this roster at some point, and it's all worked for them. The only concern I have is LeBron playing over 35 minutes a game. Early on in the season, he's not missed any games yet. He's come out and kind of been the anti-load management guy, and if he's healthy, he's going to play. He's just playing a lot of minutes, and he is playing definitely on the defensive side with more effort than we saw last year. So he's not taking as many of those breaks where he was useless as a defensive player, where he was just completely resting and just worrying about the offensive side. He has shown way more effort on the defensive end. That's my only concern, Eric, because we're at an age where LeBron's going to turn 35, I think, at the end of December.
Yep.
And we really haven't seen, look, I was just thinking about this, like everybody else from that draft class is now gone. Like Melo's back and he's playing, everybody's going crazy because he's averaging 16 points a game. LeBron's still playing at a top 5, top 3 level at this point with what he's doing
you better
at
say
his
that.
age and at this number of minutes where he's almost top 10 in the league in minutes per game.
Yeah,
we
he's
just
eighth.
don't have,
right.
we just
He's
don't
eighth.
have a sample size of what that's going to look like for a 35-year-old. That's my only concern right now with this team.
I'll be devil's advocate as you expect me to be for this one. And I'll say this. I understand your point, but I don't think LeBron has ever given us a reason to doubt him in terms of what he's capable of and what his durability is. So yes, he is probably the oldest player in the league to ever put in this kind of game action at this level. He leads the league this year in assists. So it seems like every year as some of these other guys mold and change, I mean, James Harden is going to win the scoring title going away. I mean, no one's going to beat him the way that he's shooting the ball this year and the amount of points he is pouring in the bucket. So LeBron, he's just going to have his, 25, 26 points per game average, be somewhere in the 15th to 20th range of the league. And that's fine. But he leads the league in assists. And oh, by the way, still averages about 8 rebounds a game. I think it's 7.5, something like that. He has 14 double doubles, 5 triple doubles. He is playing like LeBron of any other year, in my opinion. So to me, Justin, are the minutes a concern? Yeah, I'd say maybe in the back of my mind, but LeBron has never been a guy that breaks down. He had the back issues at points and times during his career, but other than that, knock on wood, he hasn't had any chronic injuries, knees, ankles, anything that just keeps him out for long extended periods of time other than that back issue. And so to me, until he proves me otherwise, I have to believe that he is in that Tom Brady, sort of Kobe Bryant, that David Robinson, that echelon of guys who just know their body and know that they're good. And if he's not good, he'll sit. So I'll trust him to do that. And I like what I'm seeing on the court.
Here's where I'll push back on you on that one, because last year he was just cruising right along and they got to Christmas Day and they're blowing out the Golden State Warriors and he nearly blows out his groin. So I do think, and when you look back, same exact minutes he was averaging last year as he was averaging this year, 35.2 a game. So the Lakers have played 17 games now. If this team is going to be a finals contender, they will play over 100 games at least this year. LeBron is not yet 20% through this season. So that's where I think when you're riding him this hard early, and look, they've had a very generous,
I'm riding him hard.
And they've had a very generous schedule up until this point. I mean, they've had multiple games versus Memphis. They've had a Phoenix in there, Atlanta. The two best teams that they've played being the Clippers
and the Warriors.
And the Raptors. They've lost to. Oh, the Warriors are awful. I hope you mean them as being an awful team at this point.
I was just trying to see what you'd
unless you
say.
want to watch the 2018 Villanova Wildcats that basically start now.
I'm sorry. I just tried to see what you'd say. I mean, it's amazing that the Warriors are the worst team in the NBA. And I literally mean they're 167% winning percentage. So they are literally the worst. So I didn't mean to get you off track there. I was trying to make you laugh. Yeah, the Warriors are just first to worst. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. So that's where my concern is, that they're going to get a bump in competition. They're going to start to play more of the Denvers and the Houstons. Those teams are going to start rolling in. They're going to get to the East, Milwaukee, Philly, Boston. They're going to play some of the tougher teams that are going to push them harder. And if they keep creeping LeBron's minutes in those games, 38, 39, 40, and he's not resting, I just don't think we have any information on what it looks like for a 35-year-old to go out and play this many minutes at this high of a level and think it's sustainable. That would be my only concern, because yes, up until last year, I would have agreed with you. There would have been no argument. But last year we saw LeBron have his first injury that really affected him throughout the year and eventually got him shut down. And look, I get tired of him too with all of this hashtag washed king, hashtag revenge. LeBron gave us the reason to look at that. He played no defense. He looked completely disinterested in that team. He played 55 games. They ended up shutting him down. It helped their draft situation. But nobody was saying that LeBron gave people a reason to go, I don't know if he can last through a whole year because he got hurt. So this whole narrative of LeBron basically creating this hashtag is just so LeBron. It's just so LeBron to be like, well, you guys said, like, no, LeBron, you got hurt. You grabbed your groin on Christmas Day in front of everybody. You missed a ton of games. You came back. You didn't look like the same guy. You said you were still in pain. You weren't 100%. And then you had to be shut down. So you created all this. This is all you. This wasn't us creating this narrative that you're old and washed up. You had the stats. If you would have stayed healthy, no one would have said anything. But your team didn't win. They weren't that much better without you. They were sub 500. So that's just such a moronic point by LeBron. But I guess he's got to basically create drama and content that he loves to do.
He's got a lot of moronic points. I mean, just follow the guy's politics. I'll agree with you on that. But I don't like the fact that really anybody, it could be LeBron or it could be anybody, that one of the things that we can do is this I told you so culture, where we can talk about this now, and whether or not he gets an injury later might be true. I mean, he might have an injury later. How do we know that it's because of the minutes that he's played? I mean, is there a direct correlation, or is there any way for us to directly relate that to how many minutes he's played? It's hard to say. I've said that about Carson Wentz, for example. My buddy always says, well, he can't stay healthy. I wouldn't have paid him that money. He can't stay healthy. I'm like, what do you mean he can't stay healthy? He tore his ACL diving into the end zone, scoring a touchdown, putting in 110% effort. That's not a guy who can't stay healthy. That's just an injury. That's just an injury that could happen to any player at any time. Even like Dustin Johnson and PGA when he slips down the stairs before playing the Masters and he injures himself. It doesn't mean he needed load management. It just happens. So LeBron's groin injury, was it because he was playing too many minutes? Maybe, but also maybe not. And that's where I just get a little bit concerned is I think we can talk about this and I think it's relevant. And I think it could be that he plays too many minutes and breaks down, especially if the injury is more chronic. But if he goes out and gets a hamstring pull or a groin pull or something, to me, that's situational more than it is chronic and overload. I don't know. That's just my take on it.
I just think that there's times they could be scaling him back closer to 30 to 32. That's all.
Yeah.
I just think that they have to be, look.
And I'd be okay with that.
Leonard last
if it
year,
protects him, I'd be okay with that.
Kawhi set out a bunch of games and then he looked like a Superman, some type of Avengers character in the playoffs where he could just go out night after night and get the job done. And he was at one point in the finals looked like he was dragging his leg around and he was still the best player on the court. I just think at some point, look, and I'm not saying that that's what I want to see. That load management's a whole nother conversation when we have more time. But I think that there's some blueprint there to look at with these guys. And when you look at Kawhi being much younger than LeBron, just where LeBron's age is, we just don't see guys like that at that type of age, just playing that many minutes a night based on the career where he's played a ton of minutes and a ton of very hard minutes in playoff games and all those finals runs. That's where I just think he could be susceptible down the road to this stuff. That's all. I just think that how hard that they are playing him is just a little bit crazy this early, where I think that you have Anthony Davis. He's your young horse. He's the guy that should be out there getting 35 or 36 minutes, and LeBron should be the guy that's closer to 30 to 32 and have a lot of Kuzma and Anthony Davis running a lot of the offense at certain points, especially right now during the schedule when they're playing a lot of these teams that aren't great or aren't playing great at this point or playing for nothing because they're young teams like a Memphis when you're catching them twice and they just don't have the roster talent that can compete. So that's my only issue with this, with what the Lakers are doing is I don't want to have a conversation here in 2 months where I might be able to say I told you so because it's LeBron's breaking down from different things. And look, maybe it doesn't happen, but we've also never had an offseason where LeBron's this old and he filmed a movie as well. So there's something else in there to throw in. So I don't know.
No matter
maybe
what, you're going to say,
5 or 6 years.
Oh, I told you so. And you damn well know it because it's just the way it is. I mean, this guy is at 34 years old, the best player the league has ever seen at that age. And once he gets injured, whether it's you or anybody else, it's going to be this, that, or the other reason that caused it. And that's just the way sports is. And that doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means that's how it is. And I'm agreeing with you that if they could get by, win